Michael Irvin said he appreciated CeeDee Lamb reaching out to him to tell him he wasn't disrespecting Irvin by wearing number 88. Irvin also said he gave CeeDee some advice about Jerry. Irvin said, quote, Jerry Jones didn't become a billionaire by not being very persuasive. Jerry's one of the greatest dudes in the world to play for, but boy, when Jerry gets something in his head, he gets running with it. Trust me, he can be very persuasive. Shannon, what is Irvin trying to tell CeeDee Lamb here?
Skip, Michael didn't need to tell CeeDee Lamb Jerry was persuasive. CeeDee Lamb's wearing 88. CeeDee Lamb tweeted he wanted to wear number 10 in honor of DeAndre Hopkins, who was his favorite player. He's wearing 88. And the only reason he's wearing that number is that Jerry not only implicitly implied, he explicitly stated that he wanted he wanted CeeDee Lamb to wear the number 88 because of his good friend from college, who was a confidant later, wore 88 in college. So he didn't need to tell CeeDee that Jerry can be persuasive. CeeDee's wearing 88. But here's the crux, what Michael is basically saying. Skip, you see, Jerry Jones has a very unique relationship with Michael, with Dez, and Zeke. At some point in time or another, they needed Jerry and his power to do a favor. That's the difference between them and Dak. You see, Skip, you remember last year when Zeke was holding out and Jerry was like, Zeke who? And they asked him and he said, I've earned the right to joke with Zeke. You see, Skip, if I do you a favor to the magnitude of what Jerry has done for these guys, you damn better believe I've earned the right to joke. And joke all the time if I feel like it. That's the difference. Michael, in his own sort of way, says, okay, Jerry can be persuasive, especially if, you see, he can't be persuasive for Dak. Because Dak, like, I'm going to keep my nose clean. I'm going to be cool over here. I'm not going to need you to pull any strings for me. So I'm going to be over here sitting down, and when y'all ready to do this deal, come see me. That's what Michael was talking about, Skip Bayless. You know that Jerry carried a lot of weight in Dallas. There is nothing that happens in Dallas with a football player that Jerry Jones does not know about before it hits the media. Trust me.
Okay, so remember, Michael termed this a warning to CeeDee. He said, I warned him, because he had seen already that CeeDee had gotten steamrolled by Jerry Jones. And you have to understand how to manage Jerry. If you're a star under Jerry, playing for Jerry, you have to stay on Jerry's good side, because his good side can be great for you. But it's a fine line between being able to stay on his good side, but being able to stand up to him occasionally when you believe you're right, and be able to be able to manage him by reasoning with Jerry Jones. Jerry is a reasonable human being if you'll sit him down and talk it through with him. And you can do it by not antagonizing him or certainly detonating or alienating him. If you'll just sit with him, man to man, eye to eye, sort of son to father, if you will, and say, hey, Dad, you got to understand what I was thinking here. And Michael said to CeeDee, you should have stood your ground, because you believed in wearing number 10, because DeAndre was your idol in high school, because you grew up in the Houston suburb called Richmond, and he was playing for the Texans, and he was you. He was what you wanted to become. They're the same type of receiver, big, strong, physical, run after catch, go up and snatch it from any DB or two DBs. Yeah, big hand, big, strong hands, big-bodied receivers with strong physical, like dominating mentality. So he wanted to be DeAndre. So if he couldn't wear number 2 because the NFL won't let you wear anything but 10 to 19 as a receiver, or obviously 80 to 89 as a receiver. Well, okay, the next low number would be 10, DeAndre's number. I think it meant a lot to CeeDee Lamb to wear 10.
Yes.
And now he could establish his own new identity. And that's what Des even tweeted, B-U-Y-O-U capitalized.
Yes. Yes.
So he was trying to warn him, this is how you have to manage Jerry. Because to your point, Shannon, Jerry can be the greatest friend in Dallas you ever had. Because yes, he will make calls and he will call in favors. And God only knows how many calls or favors he called in for Michael Irvin. Michael, as we all know, was involved in any number of career-threatening scrapes and situations and incidents that I can't even try to describe on live national TV. But he was involved in some really ugly stuff. And with Jerry's help, he was able to navigate through most of it. And that's what Michael is saying. You stay on his good side, but don't let him run away train you, because Jerry is over-emotional. He's the most, he's the most enthusiastic man I've ever been around. If you're around him for 5 minutes, and I told you I spent literally hundreds of hours around him, interviewing him for 3 books that I wrote on the Dallas Cowboys, he's so optimistic and enthusiastic that it's contagious. It just rubs off. I got swept up in it. I got caught up in it. And so does everybody around him, and that can be a great thing. But the point is that I think Michael was also saying between the lines, you have to be careful with him, because you have to learn to stand your ground without pushing the wrong button. Because once again, we talked about it earlier in the show, Jerry has a long fuse to his temper, but when it blows, it just explodes. And I have witnessed it go. And when it goes, you cannot get it back. You can't undo it. You can't reason with him. You can't talk him off the ledge, because he's already jumped off it. And one night, as you know, at the league meetings in, of all places, Tampa, Florida, after they had won 2 Super Bowls together, Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson, Jimmy was with all the assistant coaches at a restaurant, and they'd had a few, and Jerry just happened to see all of his coaches at the same table and walked over and proposed a toast to the Dallas Cowboys. They'd won 2 straight Super Bowls. And everybody toasted at the table except for the guy at the head spot of the table, Jimmy Johnson. And he tried again, to the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody clinked their glasses the second time. And at the end of the table, the head of the table, Jimmy just glowered at Jerry because he was sick and tired of him, and I get it. I don't blame him for being sick and tired, but he had humiliated Jerry in public one too many times. Jerry will always be the boss. In the end, he has final say, even over one of the greatest coaches ever, Jimmy Johnson. And that was that. The long fuse had burned and burned, and he exploded, slammed his drink down on that table, stormed out of the restaurant, went straight back to the hotel, saw 2 Dallas reporters sitting at the bar, called them over, and he said 2 things. He said, I'm going to fire Jimmy Johnson. And they were just like thunderstruck, like they thought he was joking. And he made the point that there are 500 coaches out there who could win a Super Bowl with this Cowboy team because it was so loaded. And I think he picked the 500th coach on the list, Barry Switzer, who'd been out of coaching, out of football for 3 years and had never coached a down in the National Football League. And as you know, 2 years later, they did win a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer. I'm a big Barry Switzer fan. But the point was, he snapped. And Michael was right in the middle of it because Michael played for Jimmy at Miami and loved Jimmy. And all of a sudden, boom, he's gone. Well, they all saw that. That's Jerry Jones, too. That's the darker side of Jerry that you don't ever want to provoke. So that's all that Michael was trying to say to young CeeDee. Learn the ropes. Learn how to manage Jerry. Stand up to him and hold your ground when you think you're right, but do it nicely and don't push too far. But I think CeeDee just folded up right away and said,
just came.
Okay, Mr. Jones,
Right.
whatever you say, I'll wear 88.
And that's what happens, Skip, because guess what, Skip? If you start, see, Skip, you can if you start out saying no, you can always come back and say yes. But once you start out saying yes, it's hard to tell somebody no, Skip.
I agree.
My brother and I, we became successful. You know, we played in the NFL. Obviously, family, cousins, uncles, and aunts didn't do that. So if you start out like every time, hey, nephew, let your uncle, let your aunt get 500, let them get 1,000. If you start out, Skip, when you tell them, no, what you mean no? No, bruh, you can always say yes. But once you start, Skip, once you start that path, so CD, you've already given in. So now every time Jerry comes to you, Skip, what is he expecting to hear moving forward? Yes. It's like, Skip, my brother and I, we got my sister a truck. She called us, well, what color you think I should get? You know what I told her, Skip? I said, hell, you got to drive it. Why you care what we think? Go get the truck. Do what you want to do. CD, you should have got number 10. That was the number that you wanted, or you wouldn't have tweeted it. He didn't tweet he wanted 88. He didn't tweet he wanted number 13. No. He said, I want number 10. That was Jerry wishes. Jerry, if you want to wear 88, wear it up under your suit jacket on game day. But I'm not wearing it.
That's true. I agree.
I would have done it, Skip.
Jerry is feeling